All right, I would like to now introduce our board of directors. We are joined by Madeline DeMatenon, Kathy Day, Tasha Woods, Cindy Coe, myself, Mike Rowley. We're also joined by our superintendent, Troy Turno, and our executive director of teaching and learning, Jennifer Kuntz. Board, first action item is the consent agenda. We had the opportunity to review these items individually and seek clarification from the district admin prior to our meeting. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Cindy has moved that we accept the consent agenda and Tasha has seconded. Any discussion? I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, that takes us into administration. And first up is the February meeting schedule.
So this, just wanted to make sure that you're aware that our February study session, which is February 14th, is already occupied by some activity that you will be having that day with the final interview and the superintendent search. So really what we just needed to figure out, and you can just decide it now, or we can think about it and come back and make a formal decision at the next meeting, is just simply whether you want to move the study session and have it a different day in February, or just forego it because you'll already be having a number of meetings in that time period and just do a single business meeting on our normally scheduled time at the end of February. So really just, I don't know, we really haven't had that discussion. So just wanted to give you a few minutes to have that and figure out what everybody wants to do.
Is there anything pressing that we had planned for that study session?
Not at this point in time.
Just to continue with school updates and things like that. So we just, in the last agenda setting, we discussed, we could always move that to a portion of the board meeting or in the following study session. And just to clarify, we will have a meeting on the 10th, the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. So
I see a lot of each other.
as part of the superintendent search, so.
I feel like the work of the board is to make sure that the continuation of the district happens and that is the most pressing. The superintendent search is the most pressing thing that's happening. So we are devoting our time to that. And that we do have protocol in place that we can ask questions beforehand. So if there's one business meeting, we'll have the agenda, we can seek clarification. And so we do have avenues so that we can have an effective business meeting. And so I'm open to discussion on it, but right now I feel like that we could forego that study session, have one business meeting, and then continue with all of the meetings that encompass the superintendent search.
I agree. So I would move that we have just one business meeting in February and no study session.
I think, yeah, because it's a study session instead of a.
And you will be
Yeah.
meeting, you're just.
Yeah.
Right. We're not, the board is still meeting on that date. We're just not using it.
And if something changes and we decide we do need to meet, we can always, have it there because that's 2 meetings away or something. So.
Yeah, that was the purpose of just discussing it right now. And then, so we have the decision, and then later on, if something's the next meeting, we can add, then we would vote to add a different meeting date. So. Okay, perfect.
Isn't there a motion?
It's not a formal motion. We're not actually taking a vote on this, so.
You want me to retract it?
No, but if somebody said they need a motion, then we have to finish that process.
So we better finish it then.
is the process to retract the motion?
Yeah.
What do we? I'll second the motion. We can bring it to a vote and then. Okay.
That's what I'm doing. Then I withdraw the motion. We don't need a motion apparently, so.
Okay.
Thankfully, Max Steele is only joining us by Zoom, so he cannot correct us right now.
Is that clear for you, Leslie, now?
Darian?
Okay, thank you. All right, that will take us on to next item on administration, our mid-year updates from our elementary school principals.
Okay, great. We've got our 4 elementary school principals here, and this will constitute the majority of our meeting. So a couple of things as we get ready and get into them about, get into these discussions. We talked, although the December meeting, we had conflicts with, a number of holiday events and things like that. So we didn't have everybody here. But in my report, I talked about how we are using a process based upon the concepts in this book, the 4 disciplines of execution, achieving your wildly important goals. So one of the things that each of the principals is going to be sharing is what we call their WIG, their wildly important goal. We will mostly tonight is to, share that. It's a high leverage activity that they're doing. They'll be prepared to answer your questions about it, discuss how they're undertaking it. And then, share some other items and things that they are working on, doing successes, things like that. And we will be discussing with you relatively shortly an issue that we are having with our new company for our data dashboard has not delivered anything that they have promised up to this point. Is that a accurate statement? So we do not have available all the things that we normally would have at this point of time in the year. So we're working through that problem and making that adjustment. So we'll definitely have towards the end of the year a longer look at things with each one of the schools when we actually have some of that information that we should have, but don't due to some issues with that vendor. So that's really what they'll be focused on. We have about 15 minutes, have asked them to target about 15 minutes in their discussion, and then that leaves plenty of time for some back and forth and some questions about a variety of things of what they're doing. So just trying to give you a snapshot of what's important in each of the buildings, the types of things they're working on, and the approach that they're taking to those things. Each one of them is really working on very, very similar things, but some of them have a different approach. And that's a part of what the WIG process is about, is finding those leading measures. And at the end of the year, we evaluate how well those worked, and then we know what to do or what didn't pay off for us. And then we learn from that, just like we want to learn how we want our students to learn in the classroom. This approach works. This one didn't. This is the way I learn things. So that's kind of where we're at with them. Leslie, who are you bringing up first? Okay, so Rob gets to go first.
Welcome, Kathy. You find it, Leslie?
Yeah. I'm just trying to answer. Right. One of the trouble, right? New computer.
Mhm. So, like always, I want to talk about Valley View with those two things being our focus, and they go together. Of course, high expectations aren't worth much if kids don't know that we believe in them, that you care about them, and so we spend a lot of time working on that. We talk about it in our staff meetings. We practice. We make list of kids that we need to make sure we reach out to based on the things that we learn. And you only learn those things if you really care to know them. So we're working on making sure we have continual lines of communication as best we can on the playground, before school, around the building, in our classrooms, in our cafeteria, with people that are finding out stuff about kids so that we can talk to them about it, support them, and that helps them understand better that we do care about them. And then we can ask a lot of them. We can push them harder because of the fact that the relationship we built. So that's Valley View in a nutshell. It carries through everything. So if you would continue there, Leslie. The SEL part, the time we're in and COVID, as we know, brought a focus on that. But every great teacher and every great school knew a long time ago that SEL was the key to education. We have things now that we're doing that are systematic, and it's great. We, like all the schools, and I guess that's also one of the cool parts of what's happening in our schools, is that we're doing many of the same things. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we weren't. Every school had their own thing, in all different directions. And that's good to some degree, but it's also not great if there are good things that everyone should be doing. And we're doing a lot of that right now. So a staff survey is something that it's an SRSS, and it asks teachers to look at their class and then score them, rank them based on internalizing and externalizing behaviors. And then we have spreadsheets that will, filter out, well, there's some kids that are flagging for externalizing behavior. What kind of behavior is it? What grade are they in? What should we do about that? Is it a whole class? What happened? Do we do a counselor lesson with the whole class? Is it 3 kids from this class and 2 from that class? And then we arrange as part of our MTSS system to do something about it. And the key is to gather the information to be able to know, first of all, how people are viewing those kids by the behaviors they're exhibiting, and then working to have our system support those needs, whatever they might be. And then the new part there is the student survey, and that's part of the Swiss suite, where you can go in and find surveys on different things. And we've done the elementary version, of course, and modified it a little bit, made our own form for the survey to take out some questions that we thought weren't needed. But for the most part, it is the Swiss survey that now we're asking kids how they view their classmates, how they view their school, how they view their teacher, how they view their lives. And that's the first time that we've really had a chance to not just have an adult look at a kid and say, this is what I think they're acting and feeling like, for the students to be able to say, this is what I think. And it was really cool. We were proud, and we also learned, hey, there's some kids that are tired of other kids misbehaving, and they can say that in the survey, and we can go, teachers, kids are tired of that too. We all want to work together to make this better. It's something about our school and every school that can get better. Our counselor is Erica Ingram, and she's in her 2nd year as a counselor. The Bobcat Bonds link there is our way of trying to put all this together into something that that would make it easy for teachers. It's thinking, Leslie. Did it pop open on a different page, maybe? New computer. If it comes open, great. But in a nutshell, it's every month of the school year with a combination of our character trait, which is coordinated with our second step lessons. And so the second steps is an SEL curriculum that all of our schools have. So we've taken, our counselor, Erica, has taken those lessons within the 22 second step lessons and found which ones fit best with that character trait. And so then teachers can have a theme that runs through that month and teach the lessons that go with second steps and emphasize character traits. And then we recognize students in our thank you kid assemblies and our students of the month for that character trait of the month. And so we've also coordinated to say Mondays are a community circle day. When kids come in from the weekend, there's not a better day of the week to talk about their lives and how they're feeling, what they might need than Mondays. So if we're saying we would like in one of our board ends have been regular community circles, a couple a month. We're doing one a week and picking the day for everyone. Work your schedule however you might want. But Mondays should be a community circle for our building. So it's not showing. Okay. That's okay. It's a really nice document, and it's almost as nice as the small video that's linked in the next link that won't open. Try the ML link there, Leslie, if you would. Do you see the ML?
Yeah. No, it's like
So on ours, Leslie, it told us that we have to update Google to view it. So
Do you guys have links in your presentation? Do you have links?
No.
No? Do you have a link? Is it there?
Yeah, just like, we're gonna. Not a mess. You're already in progress, Jen.
Yeah,
Can you get that? Or do you want me to send it to you?
you need to send it to me, sorry.
Okay.
While they're working on that, I can talk a little bit about the ML part that might also be something we can view if it works out. But we have Amy Rominger is our ML teacher, and she's just been a great support to our staff. And we had, I mentioned it to our admin team this week in our WIG meeting, that we had a Wednesday. We take about 20 minutes at the beginning of our PLC time, and we just do some PD or sharing from staff. And so she shared a strategy, which was sentence patterning for our ML students. And she did a full lesson, like we became third graders in the staff meeting. And it was fun because, you know, as we know, the best way to learn is just to do it. And so she taught this whole lesson on sentence patterning, showed how kids can understand parts of a sentence and speak. The whole point of it to have some student discourse and have kids be able to talk more in class and have support doing that. And we did that whole thing. She did the poster and we practiced it. And then on Friday, I was going through the building and there was a first grade teacher that was already had a poster on, had her kids sitting on the floor and was teaching the whole lesson. It was really cool. And we've included in the video that will come up here in a second on ML. We'll look at this other one first, Jen, if we could, the Bobcat bonds, but we'll show you a sample of the video and how she teaches that. Because it's not one of our big four. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. It's not one of our WIG things, but it is because it's carrying through everything we're doing. And I know that Melissa will talk a bit about her ML part of her big four, but this is the combination. If you scroll up just a little bit, you'll see this is January. Bobcat bonds is courage. And so the community circle questions are themed also. These are things to support a teacher if they wanted to. We would love for you to have a conversation, however you lead your community circles, as long as it isn't thumbs up if your weekend was good, thumbs to the middle if it was okay, and down if it wasn't. That's not building relationships, but this is. And so then those are the lessons that come with the second steps. And at the bottom, scrolling down, you'll see the weekly plan for Monday is community circle. The other 4 days are for teachers to coordinate however that works in their schedule, but those are parts of the week that would go with that theme for the month of January. Yeah.
How long
I mean, I know it's different from kindergarten to fifth grade, but like how long on average would you say a teacher would be spending on, say, a community circle on a Monday?
We have 15 minutes dedicated in the morning. I'm blocking the schedule out, so our specialist starts later, all of our instructional stuff starts later so that we can do that. And it will take longer than that for a good community circle, but they'll start 5 minutes late. So they'll come into the classroom, get started. We'll do our announcements, and then they'll start with the community circle, and it'll take longer than the 15 minutes. So I would say, typically they will do if it is in the community circle, they'll do some other SEL activity. It might be a second step lesson during that time, which are also more than 15 minutes. So to do a full second step lesson, they need 25 minutes. And so they have to rearrange to cover both a good community circle or a second step lesson. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you play that video or the few slides that are within the ML one?
Hoping that the sound is not going to be an issue. So let's.
So these are part of what she shared, and we won't go through all of it, but in a nutshell, outlining ways to have more student voice, having kids talking about academic content, not just speaking. And a lot of that, of course, doesn't come naturally to a lot of teachers. We've had, some teachers trained in GLAD. We had a great presentation this last week that Jen coordinated on the 2nd, talking about the importance of all of these things. And then if you go down farther, information about sentence patterning, how it works and how we do it, and then samples of sentence patterning. And then again, one more will be her teaching a kindergarten. This is a 5th grade sentence pattern, and then a kindergarten example. If you play that, we'll try sound, hopefully. They're singing the song, and so it just is the stickers move from one word to the next, and the kids can choose where the words go, and then the whole group will sing the song. So it is the happy snowman melts in the sun or something, and so they say the first 3 parts 3 times, and then they do the prepositional phrase after that. And it's kindergartners doing this, and they understand what prepositional phrases, they understand verbs, all the things, and they have fun singing, and they're speaking.
Happy snowman smile.
More,
Happy snowman smile. The happy snowman smile.
my time will run short here. That and go to the big 4, which is probably the thing you want to know most about, but I'm proud of those other things. We're proud of those other things. The big 4 at our school were, Troy presented the idea of pick something wildly important, right? And so we just picked, and it wasn't like we voted on it as a staff. I just picked and said, and Kelly Roeder just picked and said, let's ask them to work as hard as they can on the 2 math things I think are most important in their grade level, and the 2 ELA standards that they think are most important in their grade level. If you could pick and say, these kids in my grade level should acquire this skill, these 2 skills, what would they be? And let's see how well you can do. And it wasn't because that's the only thing we think is important for them to learn. They're very important. They're so important the teachers pick them. But the benefit of the big 4, you can click on any example of a grade level there, is anyone is fine. Yeah. The advantage of that is for the team to talk and discover and collaborate and work and figure out if we're ensuring this, what are we going to do about it? Like, how do we know? What is the thing? Well, we know the thing. It's easier to write it on there. Here's the standard. We're going to do this. But then if you click on the arrow, Jen, any one of those arrows, so that foundational skill, RF1, can't read the rest of it, but students know and apply.
Grade level phonics and word analysis.
Yeah, it's one of our essential standards on a report card. Say if that is the most important thing for you as a 1st grade teacher, and so then it doesn't allow you access to Okay. If you click on that arrow and you had access, you would see the outline of a Smarty goal. It's a step-by-step progression through how they're going to do that and what are the timeframes and what are the measurements they're going to use to try and check back to say, how are we doing? We said we want to do this, but we really need to be systematic, measured, and accountable to each other to do that. And so that part has been really beneficial because of the goal, but also more about the team discovering what it takes to really you're wanting to have these kids get something. It gets a lot harder when you look at 20 standards, or you look at kids who have missed 4 standards in a row and they haven't gotten it, and you're still teaching the next one. How do we assure those kids get that thing when we are having to keep going back to give them more practice in the thing they didn't get already? So, we also have a scorecard. And so all of us, we'll talk about the scorecard. Probably it's not here, but it's just the data that goes with how are they doing and their progression, small common assessments or bigger assessments that tell us their projected or their current progress around that goal. So that's our big 4.
Thank you, Rob. Board, any questions for Rob tonight or?
So the teachers chose these. I mean, you asked them, pick 2 math, pick 2 ELA, and then did they choose these based on data or looking at, how did they, do you know how they came up with them? They just talked and came up with them?
Yep. And it was okay, like we said, because they're all important. They could have picked any other 10 different ones, but it was like, you as a teacher, what do you think could be the most important? And it was actually interesting as the grade levels talked, they're like, wow, I'm glad that's really important to you because that's important to us because they come to us not knowing that. And we're really messed up. We can't progress if you aren't doing that. So, it was more for the practice of the team than the actual standard. But yeah, it was left totally up to them. And some put too simplified of they didn't put a whole standard. They just put a skill. Like a kindergarten teacher might have put, I want them all to be able to count to 10. Well, that's within a standard. It's one skill, but we want to have it be big enough that we could outline multiple steps to be able to practice the team.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Looking around, I don't think anybody else has any questions. Thank you very much,
Sorry
Rob.
for the whatever tech issues we had, but
Well, we have it as a
Blame me.
presentation, so we should be able to open it up and check it out ourselves too. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay, all right. Is it on now? Yeah. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay. Hello, can everybody, is this good? Can hear? Okay, I see maybe one staff member, they'll be disappointed because when I first brought this idea about a wig goal, I was thinking as wigs, and at IDA, we do wear wigs at our assembly. And so they were like, you should wear a wig tonight. And I thought about it for a minute, but I didn't bring my wig, but I always could go get it if you would like. So I'm really excited to share today my wildly important goal and highlights of a few of our accomplishments to date. That photo there was out in our pocket forest after every student was able to plant 2 to 4 plants in the pocket forest. And so that was a really exciting day. We'll hear a little bit more about that later. Go ahead, Leslie. Okay, so my wildly important goal, create a sustainable culture where all staff believe in and demonstrate through actions that our core purpose is for high levels of learning for all students. We learn, they learn. And we had a really unique opportunity as a second year in a brand new school with a brand new staff. Like that's the foundational piece of everything because I bulleted some things. We know that the number one predictor and impact on student learning is teacher collective efficacy. So when teachers have time to be valued for who they are, to come together, to collaborate, we'll see higher levels of learning for all students. And I love this idea that Troy brought. This really just resonated with me so much with the arrows. And this is something our staff, we worked on after I shared this with them. Our leadership team here in the building really embraced this idea about we all have the same goal. We all want high levels of learning for all students. And if you look at the top arrow, we don't want to all be robots and on the same page at the same day, just all like going the same, we're all the same. We got to do the same thing. That doesn't work. We don't want to be the arrow in the middle, like we're going to the goal, but look at everybody's just doing their own thing, going their own way. And in the third arrow, this is what we want. We want to be able to bring ourselves, who we are. We want to be valued. We want all of those things and that belonging for who we are. We're all working to the same goal. And that just really resonated. And so part of my wiggle really is around, well, how do we create opportunities to have every teacher's strengths recognized? And then part of this work with our PLC is really giving teams time to know each other, to know what their strengths are, and then to know that we're going to have some collective commitments. So we've spent a lot of time at the beginning of the year where we talked about what is a collective commitment, how's that going to work? And so teams were able to have time. And I'll show you on one of the other slides, there's an embedded link to our IDA teams. I'm not going to pull all that up tonight, but you have access to get to know our teams better. And it's something we refer back to quite often in our staff gatherings, like, okay, second grade teams presenting something today. Let's remember, here's their strengths. And so that is one of the ways for this opportunity is we have a weekly staff gathering, and this is all teacher driven. Like is this working for everybody? And it is. And so we learn from each other at the weekly staff gathering. It's a quick 20 minutes, like, let's just get to the point. Here's what we're doing. And it might be like this Friday, we're having our ML teacher. We'll meet in her room. She's going to share a really high leverage strategy, walk us through an activity, and we might have a few other highlights. We usually share a little piece of student data, like look at the success here. Here's why these kids are growing. And there's usually a lot of laughing. It seems like sometimes we might cry. We've had crying just like community circle time, and but it's been really good. We've even used that time for a quick. Well, I'll talk about that part later. But anyway, so because this whole WIG goal, we know without the trusting relationships, it just doesn't work. And so we've just worked really hard here to know we're developing who we are, who we want to be, and that this idea is sustainable no matter which teachers might come and go or administrators come and go, that this is what it means to be part of a high functioning team where we all believe in high levels of learning for all students. So that's my WIG goal. And just some examples I've put in, this is in our conference room. And so we have that right on our wall. We learn, they learn. And there's so much to that simple phrase, because really what it's saying, it's that teacher collective efficacy. And when we have teachers that are just on fire right now for, like, they're doing action research, they're really noticing, like, wow, I'm having this struggle, but I see you're doing this over there. I want to know more about that. Hey, I'm trying this. And so it's been really just incredible to be a part of that. And so this is our first grade team, and what happens in some of our MTSS meetings and this was all like teacher driven. So they spend a day with the MTSS specialist, and they're just going over strategies and data and what they're going to do answering those 4 questions in the IGC cycle, instructional growth cycle. What do we want students to know? How will we know they know it? Those questions. And one grade level that had gone first thought, hey, when the next team goes, we're gonna bring them all their favorite treats because we have a book that has everybody's favorite treats. So one grade level started it and they left the whole basket of treats and it just kept going. And so to see that was just super, super special and really great. So we really have worked really hard to, with our teams in this belief to strengthen our systems. We make data-driven decisions. We're very flexible to the needs of the students. And this whole work includes our paras. We're building capacity, training paras to do some of the SEL work around check-in, check-out with students. That's just a system for students that need more support. It's just they have a check-in person. Hey, this morning, remember, these are the goals you're working on. And then they check back in with them at the end of the day. And there's some of them are on a point system or things like that. But we're actually, paras are helping us do that. So that's been really incredible. So we just have this solid team approach and it's everybody, dean of students, counselor, our special education teacher, oh, principal, that's me. I'm a little part of the team, our ML teacher, specialist, and kind of this idea of how we're building this culture is just the idea of how can I help? It's not not my thing. It's like, well, okay, what do you need? How can I help? And the link at the bottom there, if you just do a quick click on that, because you guys have access to this. Oh, you can't do it anyway, but you'll be able to. So it's really, really great to look at because every team has made a slide and we keep adding to it. So they put the strengths of their team, their collective commitments, and then they're putting like highlights of the fall and then we'll add to it. So, okay. Oop. And we're done. No, it's okay. And you can go to the next one. An example of our collaboration and being responsive is our school was required to go to a breakfast after the bell. And we're like, what's that going to mean? Kids are eating in the classroom. And at first it was like, oh no, what are we going to do? And our leadership team came together, a lot of teacher input, a lot of like brainstorm ideas, go out, come back together. This is going to work. It's not going to work. And so what the team decided is the morning time can be hectic in an elementary school because you have all the students, 360, 400 kids all here at the same time, and recess and referrals, the breakfast, just kind of hectic, crazy. So we were like, okay, the team decided through lots of good conversation was, let's try, we'll give kids two choices. When they come before school, they can stay in the cafeteria and we have para support that kids can read books, do coloring, kind of the quiet activities. And then outside our PE teachers, like, let's do kids can just have like a walking running club. So they can go, there's nothing, no other toys are open. So it has just been amazing. The referrals, there really are no referrals in the morning. And then we've made sure we have greeters. So we have paras, two paras always with music out front, waving, greeting kids as they get off the bus, greeting kids when they get out of the car. And then the kids walk up and the door that all students enter, there's another para there that says hello to them. And then they come in and there's paras in the cafeteria reading to kids. And then the supervisors are outside. So that is an SEL strategy. Like when we look at, I didn't go over that vision and mission, but it's that all kids feel a sense of belonging. And so that's right off the bat, that's happening. So that was work of the team. That was the team and that was amazing. And then the other thing and then the breakfast after the bell, we figured that piece out. So in the different pods, we have 4 stations. So kids just go, they get their breakfast and they take it back to the classroom. And it is the best feeling in the world to just walk down our hall and see everybody smiling. Kids are getting their food. They go in the classroom, they're eating breakfast. It's an SEL check. And some teachers might show some video from the second step curriculum. Some of them do circles at that time. There's, a lot of flexibility for the teacher and what the class needs, but kids are eating and it's amazing. So you got to come see it to really experience it. We do a good news call of the day. So that goal, every student, every family receives a good news call. The teachers select a student each week, recognized for something positive that they've done, academic. It could be, like an SEL thing. And with the idea, we want families to hear good news and not just think of the school. Oh, because every time when you call and you say, "This is Joanne, the principal," everything's fine. I've got so-and-so right next to me. And it's been a great thing to be able to do. So our counselor, she's doing small groups targeted to, I think, Rob shared about, we do a screener and we're able to identify kids that might need, like a self-regulation group, or she does a lot of game groups to teach SEL. So groups are happening throughout the day. And I could go on and on, but we'll go to the next slide. I'm trying to keep it short. Okay. Oh, and then just real quick, on the hugs. So teachers greet the kids at the door. So they've had all the greetings, like I said, then the bell rings, and then their teacher gets to greet them at the door. And a lot of them have the, do you want to, they get to choose hug, high five, dance, whatever it might be. And then we've really tried to, we talk about kids being change makers, Mustang change makers. And so we really try to get kids to take ownership and leadership in their learning. And so like fourth grade, they've had a project where they collect pet food, and it's related to Shiloh, the book that they read. And they do a great job and put posters around and collect food for that. And we have some other things like that. So, okay. This was just a little bit else about like around this idea of the WIG goal. So when we high levels of learning for all, we know that we want it to look different. We're trying to get kids to have more opportunities for outdoor learning, to learn about stewardship. And we're in a unique position here being, Ida, Nason, Aronica, and that connection with Indigenous cultures. And in the pictures there, we've got Alan, Aronica, a nephew that's in the middle there that was visiting from New Mexico, and then Arnold Cleveland, and a nephew of Ida Nason, and they were there at the Pocket Forest Day as part of that program. And then we have in the other larger picture, that's Ethan Bryson, the forester, who really made all of that project happen. And he was amazing teaching the kids about the soil, about the project. And on that day, it was so special because we had the whole school there. We had community partners, and we had an elder from the Yakima Nation, Yellow Wash, came, and we taught the fifth grade. We had guests. We had gifts for the guests. So the kids were kind of lined up there to present the gifts. But one of the most powerful parts, what blew me away, is that the kids all were outside and they listened to Yellow Wash tell stories. They listened to Mary Lee. They listened to Alan share about his mother and the important plants to her. And you could have heard a pin drop, PK through 5. Like they just listened, and they listened with their heart. You could just feel it. And then our third grade class last year had learned a song in the language of Ida Nason. And so they were able to sing that song while Alan was the first person to plant Ida's favorite kind of plant in the forest. And Yellow Wash just told me after that, he said, I never thought I would experience or hear my language celebrated like that. And it was in the compliments to our kids, it was a shared experience for our school that we will continue to learn from for years to come. So we're super excited about that. And kids wrote in journal books, and I can't read it from here, but we planted a pocket forest today. I think about trees a lot more now than I did before. I hope I get to go out there again. And so we're really excited to keep learning through that and our partnerships with PEI, and just really trying to get that idea of place-based and connections together. And all this goes back to the goal, because we're all committed to high levels of learning for students, whatever way it might be. And that's just a few more pictures of that. And, our garden project and getting kids, that was at the picture on the left, the fifth grade were able to go to the Wildcat Farm. They were working on a PEI project with food waste. So they're teaching the school about food waste, and they started that in the fall. And then we have the garden out that we're also a garden in the courtyard that we're learning from, because what we find is when we want high levels of learning for all students is that when we can use our place-based outdoor education and include the community, that those kind of opportunities just, they increase background knowledge, which increases comprehension and just their engagement. So, okay. And just, change maker, we talk about it all the time. And every month we have a new character trait word. And so that was right at the beginning of the year about what it means to be a change maker, making change happen everywhere, taking creative action to solve problems, transforming your world in big and small places, living out empathy, creativity, leadership, and teamwork. And that picture on the left was super special. It was my dad passed away in November, and this was when I just got back after being home for his funeral. And I walked out in the back to check on the forest, and there was that rainbow right there. It's like, it's super special. And that's high levels of learning for everybody. Back to the wig. Okay. And just real quick, I'm probably taking up too much time. But these were two big highlights at our school, and really show when teachers have a passion and we can say yes to their passions, great things will happen. Mr. Robertson came to me last year and was talking about wanting to do an archery club. And I'm like, yes, let's do that, because he gave me all the reasons why. And it's been amazing. So that top picture, that was the day our staff came in and they got to experience a little bit of archery with Scott. And what we wanted to do is make sure all students, 4th and 5th grade, had access to it, and then build the club from there. So now today, so Mondays and Wednesdays, kids can come in and shoot, because kids were devastated when they thought it was over. They're like, it's over. And he's like, no, you can come. And kids that need that, it's been the ones that really need it the most are the ones that are showing up. So we're super excited about that. And he wants to just continue on with, that. Lego robotics was just another big one that we were new. We don't have a robotics club, but the idea was that we want all kids to have access. So all kids TK5 have access to Lego robotics in the library stream program. So Mrs. Teasley partners with Joe Wall, and he's helped us make that happen. So, okay. And just a highlight, because this ties back to the WIG, we have a very committed PTO, and their whole mission and goal is to serve all children and make sure all kids have access. So they work, I think almost every month we have 1 to 2 free family events for families to come to, and they make sure all kids get a t-shirt. They're really great. So yeah. And I could go on and on, but I will stop. But just that connection, when we look at the forest, a healthy forest relies on the interconnectedness of its inhabitants. Likewise, our school community thrives when we foster strong connections and collaborations among students, families, staff, and the larger community. And we always talk about be the change you wish to see in the world. Mustang change makers. And I hope that you'll come and visit our school, and we can look at data, and I could show you lots of other things, but I just felt like these were some highlights. And I appreciate Troy bringing this idea of a wig and the arrows and all the things. So thank you. Any questions?
Joanne, thank you very much. Board, any questions for Joanne tonight?
One question.
but probably not for right now. But I was excited to see that you're working toward peer observation or peer coaching or peer evaluation. I think that was on way back on the first slide.
Yes.
But do you have a system for that already?
We don't have the system yet, but we're working on it.
Okay.
Because that's that idea that our weekly 20-minute, teachers highlight something like an instructional practice. And so we want to be able to move to, hey, I want to
Yeah.
go see that, or
Yeah, that excites me a lot.
Yeah.
It takes some time. It's difficult to get a system together that you can carve the time out for me
Yeah.
to come watch you or you to watch me or something like that.
Right.
But I'd like to hear more about that at some point.
yeah. And if you know that's come, talk with us. Because we want to get something like that in place for sure. Because I know for me, those were the things, the biggest ahas I had were from the teacher right next door. It's like that were transformative. So we want to give them, those teachers, that opportunity. All right. Thank you. Sorry.
Joanne, thank you very much.
Yep.
And you will be seeing us because that's part of our discussion tonight is our school visits. So we will be starting to pop into the schools and stuff. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be excited to see you.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, this on. Yeah. Well, my name is Del Highstand. I'm the proud principal of Lincoln Elementary. And there are some things that I didn't add on the slide that I'd like to highlight too, in reference to the other schools, SEL and checking in with kids. We have a Hello and High Five program where we do the same thing where we disperse adults around Lincoln Elementary, and we try to ensure that all kids get a hello or a high five. It's just a quick check-in. Like if you see a frowny face, to either check in with that student or tell an adult, hey, this one had a frowny face. Let's talk with that kiddo. And then it's also cool to celebrate with kids as well. So I think you'll see that. You can see us out in the front of Lincoln, giving hello or high fives or maybe dancing or just doing crazy stuff. And then another one was our PBIS. We just got done with reteaching expectations around all areas of our school, and then also at the bus line. And one of the highlights of that was we chose to do the videos when I was dressed up as an elf. So everybody thinks it's Buddy the Elf. Well, that's out on the video. So I need to make sure I choose wisely what day we're filming. There was no. But we just went to reteaching and setting our expectations at Lincoln in all areas. And then also one of the coolest things that we took a risk, but wanted to get more parent involvement at Lincoln, because not all parents had a successful maybe situation when they went through school. So we've been trying to provide opportunities for parents to get in. For example, deck the halls. We have a deck the halls right before school for 20 minutes. We've decked the halls, right? We made them nice and festive right before our break. So we invite them in to 20 minutes, just in the hallways, not in the classrooms. And we have, music going and stuff like that. But just to see the halls, see the work that the kids are doing. It's not often that parents get to walk through and not have a teacher talking to them or a principal talking to them, but just to come through and look at what we're doing. And the hallways at Lincoln are nostalgic and awesome. So we try to highlight that as much as we can. But the coolest thing was on Friday, if you guys are invited, just let us know. But every Friday we have, all schools, I believe, have morning announcements. We have a sign up sheet for parents to sign up and do announcements. And so after, it's been really cool to see the parents. We give them a printout. It's been really cool to see how they get nervous. Like it's a huge deal. And we allow them to have a shout out to their kids and stuff. And we get to learn nicknames and stuff of kiddos that they are called at home. And then we print out a certificate at the end and give it to them, like a student of the month certificate, but it's a parent morning certificate, how they're helping our culture. So it's been a real cool event every Friday. That's one of the highlights in the morning on Friday, to come in and see a parent kind of shake in, getting ready to go. Yeah, so next slide. A wildly important goal. Lincoln is a school of improvement. So a school of improvement, and I don't know how, it's a short presentation, so if we can't go too much in the weeds, but in the areas of OSSI, there are two areas that Lincoln was identified, and that was SE, special education, and then also ML. And so we really wanted to focus on those areas because that's the work that we need to improve on. So our wildly important goal is, well, right there. I don't know if you guys want me to read it, but all teachers will successfully identify and implement at least 2 GLAD strategies, teaching strategies in their classroom. Additionally, each teacher will actively share their successes and insights regarding GLAD strategy implementation with the entire staff. And there was a couple aspects when we were writing this that I thought were very important. You guys have heard of teacher collective efficacy. And so one thing that I wanted to highlight is something that impacts all students and all teachers, right? It's not just, we said ML and SE. Well, sometimes when you think in education, you're thinking just the students in that program, right? Or those programs or those teachers, right? When I say those teachers, ML or SE, it needs to get blown out of the water. So we had to create something where it's all of us together because they're all of our kids. All of our kids are all of our kids. I'm a special education teacher, just like anybody else, or ML. So I wanted to make sure that we are all in this together. Also, something that improves teaching and learning, and then also increases teacher collaboration. And that's part of that. Well, they're ML students, that's your job to fix them, if you will. That's a mindset, right? It's a bad mindset. I'm just giving that idea. So we really needed to focus on that. And then lastly, we needed to have something that will close the gap between our ML students and our SE students compared to everybody else. So we got to close that gap. So we feel like this is a great goal. It's actionable, and you'll see some things that we're doing to make sure it happens. It can't happen overnight. So we created a schedule, if you will. We can go to the next one. We created a schedule. We looked at our calendar and said, okay, what are some dates during the year that we can continue to focus on GLAD strategies, right? It's not a one and done. We're not going to do a, January 2nd, do 8 strategies and then, we told you guys about it. Why aren't we doing it? So we're just kind of chunk and chewing the strategies. And so you can see there's some adjustments, here and there. We have an amazing, just like everybody else has an amazing ML teacher, Jamie Meidel, and then also Miss Morris, Megan Morris, our MTSS specialists. They've combined to help us train. They're not GLAD certified trainers or anything like that, which I think is a benefit. We're learning from ourselves. That's in Lincoln, because we have a lot of fantastic knowledge at Lincoln. We can learn from ourselves, and obviously that increases the teacher collaboration as well. So those are the dates that we work on. I wish I had a picture. Joanne does a great job taking pictures. I've been one recently not to take pictures and just soak it up. But the here and there chance and sentence pattern, that's kind of like what Rob was telling you guys about. It was so cool to see the hand gestures and then also she's an artist essentially on her anchor charts. And we're like, how do you, I can't do that chart because I can't draw like that. And she had a man, pushing a rock up the hill. Well, what we didn't realize is she pencils it in before. It's like, oh, great trick. I don't even know if I could do that either, but so it's really cool it's 100% participation. On January 2nd, we had 100% of our teachers there ready to go. The conversations, the questions that they ask each other are on target to help each other out. And it's creating a culture where you can be a little vulnerable, like okay, maybe I don't know this strategy and I can learn from you. And it's creating a sense of we can do this together. We don't necessarily have to call somebody that makes a lot of money from a different town to come tell us how to do it, right? And I'm not trying to make that sound negative or anything like that, if that makes sense. But there is a lot of knowledge here that we can utilize. Do I need to clarify this? I didn't mean to make it sound bad or anything. All right, so there's our strategies, there's our dates. We are committed to them. We're going to review tomorrow. These expectations to make sure we stay on track. So we set a goal. Obviously, sometimes when you set goals, you don't see them till the end of the year. This has to be visible. We're doing this the whole year. So it's at the forefront of our minds. Some of the ways that when we talk about scorecards, some of the ways that I know we are doing it is teachers are asking for more color copies, and LAD strategies, you have to print off color copies. And so it's like, perfect. You know, yes, of course, we'll have more color copies. Anyway, so it's been great. Next, please. All right, so how do you know you're doing well? Well, you have to have some data tracking. And this is just a snapshot of some things that we look at over time. So school-wide, we have 55 ML and then 31 SE. And then these are some tests across. We only have one round with that middle column there. So far, we only have one round of map testing. It closes on 26. If anybody's out there listening, that needs to complete it. But we'll have map data coming up at the end of this month to be able to focus on ML. Well, all students, of course, all students, but ML students and then SE students on how we are doing. And then, so that's the academic side. The last box there is behavioral. So we have a Swiss program where we've been tracking behaviors. So we can talk about behaviors, where they're happening, and solve those problems. That's part of the reteaching, why we had reteaching right when we came back, to make sure that all students know the expectations, and all staff, we talk about adults have the same expectations. And so, you know, so we can talk about, I don't know if you can see some of the data there, but there is information there to talk about, you know, as a school, and the functionings of maybe boy versus girl, and some high level questions of referrals there. There may be some possible solutions to that. But that's just to show that we're focused on academics and then also behavioral. Let's see. So that's the school-wide. You want to go to the next one? Thank you. And then we also have grade level. So it's the same format, but broke down per grade level. So that gives you the whole school. And then we can look at, you know, 5th grade, when we do our win days, we can look at this data at that grade level, or a PLC, for example, is readily available. It's a link, but not on here. It's a link for our teachers to look at. And you can see, I know a couple of the principals talked about consistency across the schools. You can see the SRS screener that the other principals are talking about. There's data right there, the Swiss right there, and then, you know, our data, just like the other schools. So it might not look like this at the other schools, but that's what it looks like for us. And then you can see the growth data coming. Obviously, I'm waiting for that into January, or we are. So we really wanted to be specific on ML and SE, and making sure we're monitoring that along the way, so it's not a surprise at the end. When we achieve our goal. Yeah, that's good. All right, so yeah, here's another highlight. We had a gingerbread week where we had a guest come in and read, and this was Miss Morris, and all the kinders. It was fun. I got to read the last day on Friday, and it was super fun. So like the other schools, a ton of things happening and, but we just need to stay focused, stay the course on our goals. The WIG goal has allowed us to hone in on exactly what we need to do. And just make sure that we stay focused on that throughout the whole year. And I think with that schedule, with checking in with each other, there has been conversations of next steps. Exactly what you're talking about, teachers getting in other teachers' classrooms and more collaboration. That hasn't been set up yet, but that it starts with the conversation. It starts with the want. And it's, well, if you were at Lincoln 4 hours ago, you would have heard that. So it's great to see. So proud to be a bullpup. Thank you.
Thank you, Dell. Board, any questions for Dell tonight?
I'm just curious, this is a pretty specific point on slide number 4 and 5. Is there a reason that the referrals are broken down by gender? Is that a sort of typical thing to do, or like what's the justification for that?
Yeah. Yeah. So typically in elementary, we want to be able to track that. Like is it in the boys' bathrooms? Is it girls' bathroom? And then it's broken down by location as well. But yeah, we do look at gender too, to see if what's happening. Like, is it, yeah, it is important to talk about, you know, the male versus female, because in elementary school, there can be talking points about that. Yeah. Thank you. Great question though. Yeah.
Anything else? All right. Okay, Dell, thank you very much. I don't
Thank
think
you.
we have any other questions.
All right.
Where can we find that elf video?
What's that?
So where can we find that elf video?
All right, I'm the closer. A tough act to follow. I have a fantastic team and I'm very happy here in Ellensburg. I am grateful for my team. We meet weekly with Troy and the team, and then also we meet as a whole principal team each week. And every time, even tonight, I look at the things they're doing and think, oh, I want to go over there. I want to see this. And just the excitement and the ideas that are shared between them as colleagues is really nice. And having the flexibility and the autonomy to have these relationships and grow like this is a gift. And sorry, that's talking to me tonight. Here we are. But excited to share with you some things about Mount Stewart. It's not my first principalship, but it is really a treat to come into such a fantastic school. Everyone told me Mount Stewart was a great place. And I thought, oh yeah, it will be great. It's better than great at Mount Stewart. The staff has been just phenomenal to work with, our parent group, our kids. So you're good to hear a little bit about what's been going on over there. On the right is our mission statement that was created prior to my arrival, but it captures some of the same things about how we want our kids to feel a part of a community and be prepared for lifelong learners. Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you. My goal coming in was just to get to know people, lay the foundation, go slow to go fast, and really figure out what systems were in place, how are they serving our students and staff, and what little tweaks we might need to do to get where we want to go together. I also wanted to celebrate them because I think sometimes in education you get frustrated and it doesn't feel like things are changing because it's so upfront, right? If you have children, they grow, but you see them every day, you don't see it, but then somebody else sees them and goes, oh my goodness, you grew like 2 inches. It's kind of like that with learning in the classroom. If you aren't looking, if you're looking every day, you don't always see it, but it's there. So I wanted to make sure that we are paying close attention to the growth that's happening with our students and with each other. Like Joanne and the other teammates have mentioned, just that collective efficacy is a big deal. We want to grow together. We know that we're stronger as a team. So my job was to bring in relationships. We've had some crazy experiences as a staff. We play silly games. You are welcome to come. There's quite some shenanigans there. That staff, they get together like socially. They're friends. And we have each other's children in the building. So it is a really unique environment. And we do a lot of celebrating. And I learned that we didn't really have a way to celebrate. I've been in SELA for a long time, so I have this innate ability to like Viking clap out of nowhere and scare people. But I came to our team and said, "Hey, we need to celebrate together. How do we do that?" And they said, "Well, let's do it." So we created some different ideas and ended up with one. So if you're ever on campus during an assembly and somebody goes, "Eagle clap," that's what's going to go down. That's how we celebrate each other and the kids. So it's been kind of fun. Worked really hard on communication systems and feedback loops in the building to get to know what's going on and how to support that and just be really clear about how we want to do things. And staff wellness has been an area of opportunity for us. Again, back to this is hard work. It's important work. And we've got a lot of folks who've got little kids at home and there's a lot going on. And so just being cognizant when we show up whole for kids, things go better in the classroom. So I'm careful to pay attention to that with my folks. And then we do believe in learning together and learning from each other. And we'll be doing more of that as we move on. That really detailed slide on the right is super long. Our staff came up with this together as our collective commitments to each other. That's how we roll as a building, not just our certified staff. That's everybody. And we celebrate each other on a daily basis by noticing the things that people are doing that meets those attributes. Can you please move to the next one, Leslie? This is telling you a little bit our PLCs. We too have focused on essential standards and literacy math, and we also chose speaking and listening. I wanted to lay the foundation of a culture of learning. Adult beliefs are an important thing, and that's the primary first thing we started working on. Being really clear about the meeting behaviors so that we can work optimally as a team. And then there are some products that we need to complete. So we worked through some information presented at some of the learning that we've had an opportunity to get with Mike Matos. And these listed things on the bottom right, the unpacking standards and below, these are all the tasks that you would see a high functioning PLC team do. And we sorted this as a building leadership team by the four questions to see how they fit. And they all fit perfectly. So this is the work we wanted to take on. And we've done this work with one ELA standard at each grade level, which teachers selected as a grade level team of all the important things you do with kids in, let's say, second grade. What's one ELA standard that you want your kids to know and be able to do, walk out of here with everyone knowing that. They did that with literacy and math. And then speaking and listening, we selected as a building, and every grade level has the same one because we knew that leverage, that student voice was really important to learning. We also went through and were really clear about the expectations. The building leadership team is a very important function to our building because it's the voice and the conduit of information. They're also great people with wonderful experience and a voice and passion for kids. Their expectations around me and my behaviors and how I support them, the team leads, so one member of each 3-teacher team, and then also the remainder of the team. We agreed upon what that was going to look like. I mean, that's been helpful, the clarity. Go ahead. And then one other thing that I really wanted to do is look at how these systems function. A typical multi-tiered system of support, you would see attendance, behavior, and then academics. Our building had a very strong academic what I need system for literacy and math, a well-functioning system led by our MTSS specialist, who is an absolute magical unicorn of like data, teaching and learning. We added in some additional minutes, which it says Eagle time, with our hope that we could build in some tier 3 supports, and we're still work in progress on that. And then it became really clear pretty darn quick that still, who knows, that we had some behavior things that we need to take care of. And so again, the same assessment that we did with our students, trying to figure out what their needs were and use some high poverty money, hired some additional people, trained them up, working under the leadership of our fabulous counselor. And we're running lots of groups every day in all grade levels, focusing on externalizing behaviors. That'd be like a a kid that might be hurting someone else or yelling, whereas internalizers more of what's going on in their heart. How are they feeling? Those kids are harder to see in the classroom. So that survey has allowed us to see kids and the impact they have on each other and then the learning in the classroom. Then we added another layer actually just last week, 2 for 10s. That's 2 minutes for 10 days in a row. You go and connect with a student. And the rule is you can't talk about school. So it's just building relationship and it's fun. It's just another way to get to know our kids even better. But our specialists have been doing that with a handful of kids that need some TLC they may already be getting other supports, but they still are showing up with some behaviors that we'd like to see decreased. And then we are working really hard with our recess paras on active supervision and really clear expectations because the playground is a really unstructured environment that kids don't always thrive in. We want them to be safe and being able to generalize those skills that we teach in SEL in the classroom and those other places. So that's a work in progress also. And then probably the most important is kids don't come to school, they can't learn. And we definitely have some data collection systems, but no real process seemed to have been fully implemented. And so we are starting actually next week to work to do 2 for 10s for kids who are struggling academically and not attending on a regular basis. At the elementary level, that's often a parenting issue. So we need to work and partner with their families to do that. So if we can get our kids here, if they can conduct themselves as little learners, then we can teach them. And we've got systems to do all 3. Go ahead. And then this is my last slide. How am I doing, guys? Am I going? I'm the closer to the right. I did a survey with our staff right before Christmas break, which is maybe the worst time to ever do a survey with staff, especially at the elementary level. But I did one that was stop, start, continue, and celebrate. And it was just one sheet. Everybody hand wrote in the 4 quadrants, the things that they noticed around the building. And they hand wrote it. Nobody put their names on it. Gutsy move as a building leader. And I was the chicken and I asked my secretary to type it up for me because it's hard. You never know what you're going to get, right? So I did work through that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. But these are some of the celebrations from our staff, their mouths, right, or their hands. It's fun to see the growth in the learning, the great humans that's on the staff, working together, the team, goofy experiences. If you ever come to our building during an assembly, you are going to be wowed. Taylor Swift dance, like we've got kids that practice a dance as one of their Eagle Buck rewards, and they'll get up there led by one of our classroom teachers. They literally roll out a red carpet for the kids to walk down, and they have like a VIP section. It is a thing, a big thing. It's been super fun to learn about that. We also have kids doing daily announcements. There's clubs that happen during the school day. And one of the really sweet things has been the kindergarten and 5th grade buddies. It's really changed the way that we do some things and really sweet. We've done recess before lunch like Ida has done, and that's been awesome for kids. And then the SEL para work. And then the 8 is just some communication pieces that we've brought in. And then again, the games and goofy stuff. And finally, our parents. We couldn't do what we do at that building without our parent group. Every day, we probably have a handful of them on site, either volunteering or subbing for us. And they support the staff in a really, really unique way. So this information was shared. I brought my leadership team together actually on Monday before I was aware that we were going to be presenting tonight. And we talked through the stop, start, continue and celebrate, and made some action plans about what we're going to do differently. And we have updated our PLC work, which you saw was a little bit more connected to the first half of the year. The third quarter is going to add in some more pieces that are both thinking long-term and the products and the behaviors that you would expect to see in a PLC. But we also added in some things that are happening like right now, the things that you can walk away tomorrow and be a better teacher, teach you the lesson you're going to teach your students in front of you right now. So it's been a fun kind of journey of being flexible, listening and acting upon things that are happening and celebrating what's going well and just dealing with what's not. So I hope that you've got a kind of a good understanding of what goes down at Mount Stewart. Grateful to be here. So thank you for your time. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Melissa. I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
The recess before lunch, what's the purpose for doing recess before lunch?
Yeah. That was something that the state was going to require of us, and that is not currently required. But I've done both before as a building administrator. If kids go to recess before lunch, they run crazy, right? They don't, when they come inside after, they're hungry and tired. And so they come in and sit down. As if you have it flipped, and again, it's tricky to run this in a building, then they want to leave. They don't want to eat their food, because if you're like 8, like you want to play football, right? So eating the rest of your lunch is maybe not your priority right there. So flipping it has allowed our kids to eat more and spend that time. It's a logistical nightmare to get those kids in and all their lunch numbers and lunch carts and all the things, but it's been good for our building.
I guess a follow-up question to that is, have you noticed in the classroom, they're more ready to learn than at that point, since they've kind of burned the energy and now they're sitting for lunch and they're going into class?
I think anytime kids come back in from recess, as long as those expectations are clear about how to help them come down from being at an elevated, very excited level back to getting into the learning is good for kids. There's so much great research around recess for students at the elementary level. So, yeah. Nice work right there. So I know some of my students
Melissa?
on right now, and I bet you they're freaking out.
Just 1 second, Melissa.
Yeah.
We have
I have a question. You might have explained this probably on the second slide, but could you just reiterate what the wildly important goal is for Mount Stewart? So that, like, I feel like I learned a lot about what you do, but yeah,
Yeah.
I might have missed it.
No, that's okay. I might have gone over it too quickly. So, our wildly important goal is to do the unpacking standards, student-friendly learning targets, those tasks around 1 ELA, 1 math, and 1 speaking and listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks.
Board,
guys.
anything else? All right. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah.
Thank you to Joanne and Rob and Del and Melissa for coming through that. One thing I will add, we kind of talked about it in December, but you kind of it didn't have a lot of context till you see their wigs. One of the things that we do is we meet every Monday at 9:30, and each one of the principals, together, we all meet together and they share out their progress or things they're working on and stuff like that. And so they really have embraced, even though it's new. And so we've got challenges with things always being new and, figuring it out. But what we've done now is next Monday, with being the Martin Luther King observation holiday, that we won't have that WIG meeting. So one of the things that they're doing is, because we've talked about using these big goals, these are leveraged, high leverage type activities that we're trying to work on. And so in the middle of the year, you really grind on small steps, figure out something either that's been an anchor or working on something that maybe has gone really well and using that as an extension, so they really embrace. So because we don't have a meeting next week, they've got a 2-week time period, and then they're going to come back, and share that one thing that they really were grinding on in that. So we keep that. They've been doing an outstanding job of keeping their progress updated with each other, because part of it is learning from each other. And so I appreciate their efforts with that. When we first told them they were going to do a wig, I don't think Joanne was the only one who thought about wearing an actual wig. There was a lot of, blank stares, like, what is this guy? What are we talking about? So anyway, they've done a great job with it. We will bring back, talk about here on, data at the end of the year, what our growth was, all those types of things. You can see, like Del explained, the window's still open for that. So we don't even have the growth piece yet, but we will have that soon. we'll continue to work through this process. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Joanne, Rob, Melissa, Dell, thank you all very much. You guys have a wonderful evening. All right, board, that takes us into our next item on administration, which is our discussion over school visits, purpose and plan.
So we kind of we'd brought this up before and talked about it all throughout the year, and, people want to get some things going. We didn't have, we can still sort of assign everybody was sort of willing to go anywhere. So we'll need to figure that out. But really, yeah, I mean, a big part of it too is just for you to continue that discussion, sort of what your purpose, is going to be. And then just sort of your process of how you sort of want to handle it. Do you want it to be super tight type process, or are you going to, that's really that discussion for you to time for you to continue that discussion and make some decisions how you want to do it. And then we'll get the plan together and make it happen.
The only thing I would like to say is I had Mount Stewart and Morgan last year, so I would like to see another school. Or, potentially I do have a little bit more free time, I think. So I'm still willing to take two schools, but I would like to see maybe two different schools on my side. So other than Mount Stewart and Morgan this year. So
I have a consideration that's just different than which schools we visit, but last year I went to all 4 elementary schools and I was sort of escorted around by the principal. And I feel like as much as the principals are amazing and present us with a lot of information, I'm wondering if a school visit that allows us to sit in on a classroom, obviously our presence might change the dynamic in that classroom just because we're there. But I think something like that where we're embedded, not coming like after the school day is over. We had discussed sometime in either November or December, being able to sit down with students to talk to them. I don't know if that's part of the plan, but I would appreciate being in a classroom and just observing rather than being walked around like I'm a tourist.
most of my visits were like during the school day. So yeah, it's just the planning of doing it. And I think whenever I went to Mount Stewart, it was usually during, the SEL or second step time. When I went to Morgan, it was just during the day. But I think it was kind of I think with Morgan, I usually went on Wednesdays. So it was kind of, so I could see some of the PLC work and stuff like that too. So Wednesdays is kind of neat because of that. So when you're thinking about your plan and which school you're going to go to, going on a Wednesday for the PLC work is definitely worth it. And the SEL stuff is interesting with like second graders when they watch a little 2-minute clip and then they have to explain it. And so it is better when you get to see the kids interact and stuff. So.
I think ideally for me, it would be to know what it's like to be in these schools as a kid. And I know Mac and Amari had talked about shadowing students at Morgan because their insight was when one of us, any adult walks in, it kind of stops everything and things might change and not be a normal day. So as much as possible, that's what I would like it to be like. In the past, since I'm new, what have you done with the information that you glean? Are we collecting it in any way? Or are we just looking for our own edification? Is there any other purpose or organization to it? Or is it just that we're all out there understanding what's happening in our schools and being visible?
I think for me, it was informational just because I don't come from an education background. So hearing all of the abbreviations and what that actually means. A lot of it was just kind of seeing it in action, and it makes it a lot more, I feel like I gain a lot more during the meetings now because I've seen what they're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's been sort of, you had to have an honest conversation with the superintendent and then create that experience. So like a previous board member really wanted to know about assessments. And so Jen Kuntz and who came with us, but someone came with us to Lincoln and Valley View to help explain the assessment process and VAS and MAP. And you walk through all the acronyms and here's where the data is kept. And so it really clarified for that board member sort of what everyone was talking about at that. When I've gone through personally for mine, sometimes it's just been more like a freer conversation with admin who's been there with me. And then I'll agree, like, this is what I'm going to bring in to the board meeting and say, like, we'll say, like, this is what I heard from this meeting. This is what you heard from this meeting. Like, this is what I'm looking for. And these are my concerns, or trying to be vulnerable and open at the same time. I've been able to go into classrooms, but I think that Mac and Amari brought up a really good point. And so I think to systematize somehow where we might get a chance to sit and listen to students and probably be supported with questions that are appropriate, whatever level student we're sitting with. But also for the board to consider, if we do get assigned to school, then maybe, depending on how admin feels or how we want to structure that, we also become a liaison to that PTO, that parent group. We can meet specifically with that parent group and answer questions about, everyone can come to the meetings and you can come in for Zoom and, like, just sort of to be better that way. Right.
Okay.
So that would be something I'd want to add on to it. But I think it, in the past, it hasn't been really a system, but it really took a lot of us to be like on one-on-one with the superintendent, with Jen, who's been a huge help with that. I was just saying, well, these are my questions, or this is what confuses me, or I don't understand when you're saying, I'm trying to think of an acronym. There's many acronyms. And so then they could kind of tailor experience, but also I get pretty wary of not being a tourist somewhere also, sort of, so I understand what you were saying that way. But also kind of de-escalate the situation too, because my problem has been, I've got my own personal children in 3 different schools, and that has actually been a problem, I think, for people, even though people have been very kind. And they're like, yes, we see you only as mom right now. We see you only as, but it's difficult. And so that's a consideration I would like to throw out there. I want to de-escalate situations. I want to be helpful. I want to listen. And sometimes I think I need additional support in clarifying that.
Anything else, types of things you want to consider? Because basically, what it sort of sounds like is what we just want to be able to do. We have some things we want to be able to see classrooms, talk with students, and just some various levels of that. And you all might want something a little bit different, which is okay. So then once we sort of get them assigned, then we can start to figure out a schedule, and then we can then like I can work with you individually on what like would be your ideal visit to that. And we can then work with the building team and figure it out. Is that kind of capturing what we're, okay, perfect.
And then we have reported on it at the.
Yeah.
We do say, like, this is where we've been.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been in the student, like, we've never had anyone in high school. Like, I haven't been there 4 times.
Yeah.
So I need to dress. Oh, another thing to consider too, there's a program called Shadow a Student. That's really old. I don't know, like I did when I first got on, and Haley Naboyachek's daughter was lovely enough to let me shadow her all day. So it's very lovely freshman young woman, let me the whole entire day at the high school. And it is like, you learn a lot. You learn a lot in doing that, and you can ask really good questions and you see a lot. And it's this whole protocol that you go through, shadow a student, and it's this movement that's done. And it was very enlightening. So if there's an opportunity for that, I think you learn a lot. Like, I think even Haley learned when we did the debrief at the end. I was like, your daughter never has a chance to use the restroom ever. Like, she had no idea.
Makes sense.
And other important things.
Yeah.
That young lady was very busy.
And I would probably just like to add that, like, if we do our visits prior to a study session, we'd be able to chat a lot more about what we kind of saw and learned and share with each other at the school, at what's going on at the school level in our eyes. So.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we'll put something together now. Basically, I just need to know who might want to be going where. So I'll make sure I've got all the schools: Valley View, Lincoln, Mount Stewart, Ida, Morgan High School Choice, and Early Learning Center. Okay. Would have been bad if I'd have messed that up, but,
I forgot about the early learning and the.
yeah, there's a lot,
In the choice,
there's a
so,
lot
yeah.
of cool things going on in preschool, let me tell you. So, just really kind of figure out how you want to sort of assign yourselves, and then that'll help me start working on that progress, making progress on getting plans together.
Does anybody have a preference of which school they would like to visit?
Yes, I would like to go to the choice, the high school choice. And one of the elementary schools, I'd like to go to Lincoln, but just like to make sure that I get into the little chairs. Since I'm a lot, very familiar.
You just want to see Dell in an elf costume. I know it, you know. I would probably say I would like to go to Valley View and see what's going on there. And probably continue like visiting the early learning. So unless somebody else wants to do the early learning, but. I got to do that one when I was going to visit Mount Stewart, so it was neat, but if we're separating it.
I had said Troy in an email that I don't care and I still don't care, but if you're demanding preferences, either Morgan or the high school would be fine. And I guess since there are 5 of us and 7 schools or 8 schools.
We can mix it
8,
up.
yeah. Okay.
Reporting back like during study sessions to have a second kind of set of eyes that's seeing the same thing, but maybe is remembering something you don't. So I'm all for doubling up. I'm sorry. I don't have a preference. I was just saying that it would be nice if we can double up. I like having another set of eyes that can help.
Like visiting an elementary and a secondary or something and. Or, yeah.
I don't think you said a specific school and you have to say a specific school.
I'll just take whatever is left.
That is not the definition of specific.
It's all fine. We just need to get Cindy. So high school and Morgan. That's what I thought, but I, for some reason, wasn't registering. Okay. So schools that currently don't have anyone is Mount Stewart and Ida.
I'm happy to put my name in for those.
Okay.
Or however you want to work that out.
And Madeline, where do you want to? You basically have free choice. You're like at the end of the Christmas thing, number 1, you get to take anybody's present.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you, I think elementary education somewhere would be great. Yeah, anywhere, anything. You're gonna find out.
Yep. Kathy's at Lincoln.
And
Choice.
And choice in the high school.
Leslie, if you don't speak into the microphone, we can't hear you.
All right, so we just some sort of quick eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I assigned Madeline also to Lincoln besides Mount Stewart and Lincoln. A little number game. So we're looks like we're covered. So I appreciate that. So then we'll start working on putting some things together. We'll get one of the first things we'll do is we'll start getting if you could, well, I'll put this in the board report. You send me like dates that might work best for you, and then we'll work with dates from the other side of the school and we'll triangulate it. We do have an awful lot coming up next month for everybody, including schools, because we have end of semester for the secondary schools, then the start of the new semester. Obviously there's a search process and another process going on in early February. So we'll do our very best, but really getting it in line now allows us to, by the end of February and into March, really be getting going with things. So we'll continue to, we'll start working through that. So this is just the first steps to get going. So I appreciate it.
Okay, then I believe that is the end of our school visit discussion, and it takes us on to our next discussion, which is board ends review.
Yeah, and that came out of our December planning meeting. We didn't get to have everybody here, but Madeline has some really good, points coming off of just, we've all kind of talked about how there probably will likely be some changes in the future, but at the same time, this is what's in existence right now. And so Madeline, you can share, I don't want to speak completely for you, but share, if I remember, it was just really looking at them, what we decide, what things might want to emphasize a little bit or have some understanding.
Yes, I think where I was coming from was just kind of having an opportunity, since we have new board members, to review the board ends and decide if that's still what we think are where we want to go. And then the second part of that was really figuring out how to structure either study sessions or a way to keep ourselves accountable, that we're all familiarized with the board ends and that we're able to pinpoint when we're talking about the WIGs and just the normal everyday study sessions, how those are tied back to our board ends.
You have any discussion or let's see. Have you had a chance to review, and would anybody like to start a discussion around?
Well, yeah, my thoughts are absolutely, because we need to be aligned and have some direction, but I am wondering about that these should probably be done reviewed and revisited with the new superintendent and then with stakeholders. And I would like to see these sort of swept away and a brand new look and rebuilding our board ends. That's what I'd like to see.
I agree. I think it has to do with bringing in a new superintendent, doing that alignment stakeholder, all stakeholder voice will be important on that. And I would like to see us move towards a profile of a graduate so that we're very clear K through 12. What are the expectations? How do we see it? Profile of a graduate isn't new in the ed space. So I think it would be nice for Ellensburg to consider alignment with that. Or profile of a student, you can interchange them.
I'm just curious as to how long ago these board ends were articulated. And has there been any process of holding the board accountable to these goals?
No. Let's see, these were done 5 years. Ginger Haber, the previous superintendent, came in. This was the first year was spent on this. So Morgan Library, late meetings all the time to come to the board ends. And there was community members there, parents there, community members who didn't have students in the school currently, parents who did have students in the school, staff, board members. I felt like it was a long process. Accountability and a feedback loop is something that I would like our whole entire ed system to consistently have at the center. So no, I don't think that anyone really got held to that, but can I do the asterisk or the caveat, which I don't like doing, but COVID kind of threw a wrench in everything really fast. And so that was these were really hard to get back to when you were talking about R-naught and masking every day.
I'm just wondering if there are best practices that we could borrow or adapt from other school districts that maybe have more of a rhythm with their board ends or whatever mission, vision statement they have.
So what should happen is that whatever your strategic direction is, or however you want to phrase it, should be evident. So it works its way through the system. So if the board is the 30,000-foot view, the policy, makers, there should be some goals set, for the board of things we're going to look at throughout the year that are based upon that highest level type things in the strategic direction. then the superintendent should be setting goals with the board based upon that same document. And there should be, they don't always have to be exactly the same, but there should be some nesting within that all the way through. And then our school improvement plans, of which we do not. Jen and I had a very long discussion on Monday, or no, last Thursday, when right before Kathy and Mike came for agenda setting, about our need to have a school improvement plan template for all buildings that reflects prior year data to where we want to go and nest within a strategic direction, whatever that looks like. And they can, there's no one right way or wrong way. There's nothing wrong with items in here. And I do have a suggestion to get to Madeline's point here in a few minutes, but you would do that. And then your school improvement plans would be based upon that. And then the principals would be working with their teachers. And this is where we're going. And we would be collecting data when we get a useful database that all filters through to that. And then we have things set up that we can check where we're at. That's a truly functional system of how it would all go. One of the things I can do. So when we look through the board ends, to Madeline's point, really there are things being done in all of these areas. There's nothing here that's really, that's like so unique to Ellensburg that no one had ever thought of this before. It's all strategic plans are, relatively simple like that. One of the things though that we can do is if you have some things in there that you would like, one of the line items or a number, you can let me know through the process and we can develop some sort of progress where we're at right here, what's being done across the district. And if that just takes, we need to know it just a little bit before meetings. We can make that part of agenda setting. It's like, okay, so, hey, we're going to focus on this and I can gather some, just some data like, okay, sometimes we might have hard data. Sometimes it might be more anecdotal, but like, this is the things that are being worked on, or this is what it looks like at these different levels. So that's definitely something we can do because we are going to need to get in the habit of doing like I've shared with a number of you, I don't function great without this being a living document. It's very difficult for me because everything in how I want to lead is like, this is where we're going. This is where we're at. So have every conversation be about that in one way, shape or form. And like I said, the board and the board operates at that 30,000 view. I'm at 20, and then we're all the way down to boots on the ground with our staff, making it come alive and making it happen. So, but that's something we can do. So like even under academics, number 4, early literacy will continue to be a priority for Ellensburg School District. We have all sorts of things going on, and a lot of those WIGs were really having an element to that. What Julie Hamilton are doing at the preschools, and then our connections out with community preschools and trying to help, get some continuity between those programs are all tied to this. Heck, our bookmobile program in partnership with Rotary and whatnot, so there's a lot of things that go on. We just don't do a really great job of like bringing it all together within this framework. So, but that's something that we can do. Questions, I'd like to know about this, or we'd like to highlight this. We can absolutely start doing that. In fact, it'd be a great idea.
When we revise or raise to the ground and then build a new whatever, I would really appreciate seeing examples from other school districts of not only, like their strategic document, but then what you were talking about like how it filters down through the administrative and staff levels.
We will have lots of options. There are strategic directions or plans or whatever you want to call it that are 50, 100 pages. I work great off simpler because you then get stuck in the weeds of, section 7, part A, subsection 3 and whatnot. But they're very successful districts that do it all different types of ways. What it is recognizing it as your plan and then being very clear about how you want to go about attacking parts of it. So there we will have lots of different types of things to look at. I honestly, I keep a little diagram on my wall that I shared with everybody that like, this is to keep it in my head, this is how we nest things and we do things, but that's just my personal way to do it. But there's a lot there's a lot of different ways to do it, a lot of different successful ways to do it.
Sorry, Madeline, this is a question for you. Did you envision, like, when we do a study session like this, we would, or yeah, I guess a study session primarily, we would say, okay, like we're doing a study session on this and it's dealing with this element of the board.
Yes. So one of the classes that I went to was the superintendent of the year presented their strategic plan, and she had just had this chart that was like a calendar for the year, had all the study sessions, had the topics and which board end it related to. So you know ahead of time, and it might be related to something specific as far as timing goes in the district. So you have a chance to either go to a classroom and see what's happening, and then you're meeting about it at the study session the next day. So it's fresh in your mind, but then you're always relating it back to that set of board ends or the strategic plan. I think that makes it it's so much easier to focus on. Because like when we're talking about the WIGs, I'm trying to think about, okay, well, what does that mean district-wide? Like what is the WIG for all of the elementary schools altogether? And how do you combine all of those? So what does that look like kind of at a higher level for us? So how are we kind of thinking about those things? Because it's really cool to hear about each individual elementary school, but then how are we thinking about that as a district for the set of elementary schools? What can we glean from all of them together? To kind of focus our thinking. I think it's helpful to have kind of some of that laid out ahead of time.
And maybe you do a great job of this all the time, but more background knowledge of why third grade reading, right? Why are we looking at third grade math fluency? You know, what does that mean vertically through the system, and what do we then historically always see at seventh grade? You know, pre-algebra, we always see the same thing from third grade math. You can track it right there. And then saying, okay, well, the board tonight could look at that and go, okay, well, these are the WIGs and this is school culture. But when it comes to curriculum adoptions, well, how does that curriculum adoption fit into the culture, and how are we, every vote should be tied to students and their experience. And it can be really hard to figure out how those are intertwining. So maybe the board could have some more support on that. And even if it's just like a blurb of John Hattie, what does that mean with teacher efficacy, right? Some of those reminders coming in a little bit.
And the other thing to have a functional strategic plan is then also our budget discussions are based upon that plan. And that's a big piece of it when we have to make those types of decisions. Yeah, it's absolutely needs to be on the horizon to make some changes with the buy-in and get everybody going. But at the same time, we can also work through what we have and have discussions about that. And that's, one of the things in the WASIS PLC project, those board sessions with Janelle Keating, that's what they're talking about, is how the White River Board uses their strategic plan, how they plan throughout the whole year and do all those types of things. I don't think the next one's coming up till sometime in March or April, and then the last one's in May. But that's really what those are about as well, how that all works together.
This isn't the strategic plan.
I'm a little hesitant to say this, but it's sort of a reflection on like, what is it that we do in this space? I think focusing more on the board ends is also a way for us to think about what are the issues that we need to address, because, we add a perspective that maybe people working at building levels don't. And we're accountable for making sure that these are goals that we're meeting. We hear a lot about wonderful things that are happening in schools, like we did from the elementary school principals tonight. And I think hearing about the celebrations is great. But there are also pieces of this that are problems that we also need to hear about and we need to be helping to solve those problems, or kind of strategizing about what are we doing as a district? So I think the board ends really holds us up to a responsibility and an obligation that's more than just hearing the celebration. I've worried that we've done too much of that in this space, and I would like to do more of the how do we make our school district better than it currently is, as wonderful as it currently is, how do we make it better?
You, Cindy, that's actually said very well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna agree and then reiterate what Troy had said, because I think that you need sort of your compass heading, and then you need a way to peel back that onion when you have to prioritize one, especially when we're looking at resources, and we will never have enough resources. And when we're making decisions that impact student learning, having something like a portrait of a graduate, having something where we know this is where we start, nesting or however, peeling an onion, whatever metaphor works for you. This is always where we start when we make our decisions, and then we move from here outward. In particular, when we're talking about budget or staffing or, the resources that are so scant that we're always trying to do, we need 20 and we have 12, right? And we're still trying to do what we would want to do with 20. How do we do that? And we need that. We need these to be in place as our guide for that. And I just feel like we're all over the place and have been, and we don't have a place to start. If we really had to look at core, I mean, we will say student learning, but we don't really know what that means yet when we say that. And looking at something more like Portrait of a Graduate, where we know exactly what we mean. And this is what we have to start. We have to ensure this core. And then from there, we cut to the outside. And right now we don't have a model to make those decisions. So.
Is there anything that you need from us right now?
No, it's a really good discussion. I mean, it's all, we've all kind of are in the same way, but I think very specific to this, so what we'll just start doing is like, either when we do the agenda setting, or you can send me anytime, like, look through it. What's an area you want to talk about this time? And we'll get some information, and we'll do the best we can the rest through this year, getting that out, talking about it, engaging with it. And then as changes are made down the road, there really needs to be that investment. It's a very cool process when it happens. I mean, it really makes, it achieves a clarity that allows you to have that purpose. And I'm not one for slogans. I think when a saying, becomes a slogan, so whatever you do, you have to identify what are the behaviors that we're going to have at all different levels of our organization to make it work. But we really don't have that as well. And as well, I'll give you an update next time on the new website, but it's going well, but we've got to, get it all figured out. But all of their templates have, with Ellensburg School District, then all their, and we don't really have one. So they made one up for us just so it looks good in the template. I'm like, this is awesome, but it's not ours. We don't own it. So, I mean, we need to go through a process so we all can have those discussions so we know what it means when we say, high levels of learning for all, or, whatever it's going to be. Districts, there's no wrong answers with that. It's how you execute the mission and the vision and how you define it. So it's a very great process. But I think in the meantime, we can help this come alive a little bit by having some discussions about different pieces of it and just and do the best we can in that short term, because that also then will help inform what goes on later. Just a part of it. So.
I think that it is frustrating to sit here now, and I think we've all shared our frustrations, but there really is a chance for transformational education happening right now. Just with AI coming down, everyone's moving, SRSIF is going, it's forcing schools to be very clear. People are going to have to start answering, what is school for? Like, there's a couple of times I wanted to ask ministers tonight, and I want to push on people of, well, if you don't come to school, you can't learn. I'm like, is that true? Is there an and in there? Are we sticking with their master schedules the same way in this current environment? There's a lot of questions to be asked, and there's a lot of conversations to be had. So it's frustrating as it is. It's also an exciting process.
If you guys all looked at the student newspaper from the high school, should every student be able to ask their teacher why they're doing what they're doing? Yes, I loved that piece. I want to come back to that piece. It's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
Board, is there any other discussion on the board ends at this time or kind of have our assignments to start picking through these and sending Troy questions and all right. All right, that takes us into public comment and we do not have anybody in attendance. However, I'll quickly say that individuals in person individuals on Zoom that would like to do public comment must sign up in the Zoom chat box, or if you're unable to do so, individuals may be recognized in Zoom by using the icon or emoji to show you are raising your hand for public comment. And we'll just give a few seconds to see, 30 seconds or so to see if anybody on Zoom wants to do a public comment. All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment for tonight. Takes us on to new business. Board, do we have any new business tonight? No? Okay, no new business. That takes us to adjournment. And I always forget, do we have to motion to adjourn study session? Yeah.
I like
Okay.
making road motions.
Takes us to adjournment.
I will move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Kathy has motioned that we adjourn and Tasha has seconded. Thank you, board. Thank you, Leslie, and everyone else.